Yo. Welcome to NS9LIVE. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we got Jim. We got Tyler. We're back. What's up, everyone?
We're here, baby. And I spoke before Jim could. That way I didn't get yelled at this week.
Boom.
Yeah, look at you. Just on the ball, coming in. Good stuff. I'm doing good.
I'm very glad you can take initiative, Tyler.
I try.
Jim, what's your problem?
I just woke up. I took a nap. That Pirates game, it beat me up. I had to rest my eyes for a bit.
I can understand.
So now
what's up, everyone?
It's 9 p.m. I'm fresh off like an hour and a half long nap, and I'm drinking an energy.
You took an hour and a half long nap?
It was a long nap. Yeah, it was good.
7:30.
Yeah.
Jeez. I do need a nap, man. I called my mom purposely tonight and to talk to her, but also so I could stay awake for the show, because I know if I would have fell asleep, it was over.
Me and DiNardo keep clicking the same comment. There we go.
I was making fun of DiNardo for sleeping until 10 a.m. Jim might actually have more of a problem.
And the problem is I didn't sleep till 10 a.m. Just because I didn't respond to this group chat till 10 a.m. doesn't mean I was asleep. Busy. But anyways.
Okay.
You know who's not busy and who is probably asleep? We won't go there. So let's talk about these 2024 Pirates, guys. But no, for real. They dropped again another game today. They are now 4 under, still in 5th place. But it's odd because the title of our show is the Pirates need to go for it this year. What are we on, fellas? What are we doing?
That was Jim's idea.
Yeah, that was just my idea, and you apparently made the entire show about it. I was just like, I want to talk about this. And so that's the title now.
Well, that's the title. That's what you get. Before we go any further on this title, BetOnline is your #1 source for NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Finals this season. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE. Of course, that is BLEAV for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here.
So would you put money down that the Pirates make the playoffs?
No.
I think it would depend on the odds, right? I think if you gave me some decent odds, I would do it. Because here's the deal, guys. Like, as mediocre as this team is, and I think mediocre is a fair way to put it. It's a very mediocre baseball team. They're still right in it right now. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this tonight, why like the time is now. Like it's not like, hey, let's see how this year plays out and go for it next year. Like put all of our eggs in next year's basket. This pitching rotation, like it's special. And you can't waste it. You can't waste a single year of these 3 guys. And Steel, it was actually Steelo City on Twitter, tweeted out. So shout out Steelo. Said like you just, every year that you don't just go for it with these 3 guys being healthy it's like malpractice, because we've all seen dream rotations, right? And we've seen really good major league rotations. And it's like, all right, man, the Mets are going to be really good for a long time with these guys, or the Marlins. Look at this Marlins staff. Like these guys are going to be around for a long time. And what always happens? They're not. Like, it's just the name of the game in baseball that pitchers get hurt. I'm not saying any of these guys are going to get hurt, but guess what? Odds are
It happened.
it's gonna probably happen, right? So how many years are you going to have all three of these guys, Mitch Keller, Paul Skeens, Jared Jones? How many years are you going to have it where all three of these guys are healthy and pitching in your rotation? Like you can say, you know what, we've got these guys lined up for the next 6 years. Okay, but like how many of those years are they all going to be there?
Odds are two of them will be out for an entire year at some point, right?
Odds are, like, that's just math, right?
Right.
Yeah. So guess what? They're all healthy right now. You have to take advantage of that. You can't let this opportunity slip by. If those three guys are healthy, you have to try as hard as you can to win a World Series. Because guess what? You got to get to the playoffs, right? And then you can ride with those three. Those three in a wild card series, right? A 3-game wild card series, you put them up against any of these teams in a wild card series, and the Pirates stack up really nicely, right? You go Paul Skeens game 1, Mitch Keller game 2, and then Jared Jones in a game 3. Pirates are probably winning that series. Like, you're probably winning 2 out of those 3.
Can I add on top of that?
Yeah.
Because you're talking series, the bullpen stays a little more fresh because of off days. So you always have Bednar, Chapman, Horderman available also.
Yeah. So just you have to take advantage of those 3 guys being healthy, because you don't know how long you don't know how often you're going to get that opportunity. So again, like if you've got to go for it. I don't care if it costs you your farm. I don't care if you need to make some moves that maybe you look at it and say, you know, that's probably an overpay, right? Because you only get so many shots at this. And those 3 guys, that's your shot. Take your shot.
Yeah, so I've kind of teetered on this a little bit since you brought it up, Jim. And more that I didn't know if this year's the year to move forward with it. But I think you might have convinced me there. Just hammering down at you really don't know how long you're going to get these guys. And the reason I'd say I was teetering was because I think these guys are going to get shut down by the end of the year no matter what. So it's probably irrelevant. Next year's probably more of a feasible thing to do. But at the very least, next year has to be a push the chips in the middle of the table type of year where you're going for it. Because you mentioned the Mets. 2015, you think they're going to be hanging around for a decade. It was a year and it's pretty much over. So even like looking at next year with it, which now that I think about it's a little bit concerning because you don't know what could happen next year. We were counting on Johan Oviedo this year. He's gone. We're not even thinking about him anymore. All it takes is one of these guys to go down. And with you being so close to that wild card spot, having the ability to go with those 3 dudes in a postseason series, this might actually be your best opportunity right now. You've got them. They're here.
I think you can argue this isn't going to be the best, but regardless if it is the best or not, what is here is here. And again, like this is why it's so intriguing. This is why there's reason to be excited about the team, even though you can be frustrated like I am, right? Like this is why I am frustrated, because of all the stuff that we're talking about. That is very, very good and very, very positive. And to like the points you're making, this team is this isn't hyperbole. This, like, understand what I'm saying right now, and I'm saying it with all truths. This team's built for the postseason. It's not built for the regular season. That's the problem. Like, they can't stack wins because of all the deficiencies. But when you get to the postseason and you have Skeens, Keller, Jones, and like that's why I wanted to add what I said. Like the bullpen's a huge problem, but that problem is lessened in the postseason because of the built-in days off. Like you're not playing every single day. So Bednar is now fresh. Porterman is now fresh, right? You still need some more offense, but like this rotation can shut down teams, as you saw with the Dodgers. The problem is they don't have enough to get there. If they can get there, as Jeff Passan said, and again, like I believe him because it is true. Like this team can be dangerous in the playoffs, and that is why you have to find a way to get there. The other problem is, like Tyler said, you have to find a way to manage because Jared Jones is basically at like 180 pitches, 180 innings this year is like what he's on pace to throw. That's a big step, and that's just the regular season. You know, we don't really know what Paul Skeens is going to do. They've ramped him up a bit. I think they did that with the intention of if we're going to go to the postseason, it needs to be with Paul Skeens. So I think they have every intention of pitching him for the most part. But like Jared Jones, that's what I'm really nervous about. Like, how are they going to utilize him? Is he going to get shut down? Is he going to get sent to AAA? How does that affect the rookie of the year draft pick situation? But regardless, I'm with you guys also. That's why I'm frustrated. There is a real opportunity. The landscape tells you can go and strike because everyone is mediocre. And they've kind of just been content saying, well, let's just also be mediocre, but maybe just a little less mediocre.
Yeah. I mean, that's my point. Like you have to do everything you can to make sure you get in the playoffs. And it's setting up perfectly for them because like you mentioned, like this team isn't good, but there are 4 good teams basically in the National League. There's 4. There's 6 wild card spots. So that means there's 2 teams out there right now who look very, very, very mid, right? As the kids like to say, who are going to be in the postseason,
Mr. Knapp.
They're going to be in the postseason, right? So, and again, you look at all these teams, right? Like the Dodgers and the Braves, so Dodgers and the Phillies, those are going to be your two buys in the National League. So you're going to have Atlanta, Milwaukee, San Diego, San Francisco, St. Louis, Cincinnati, Chicago, Washington, Arizona, all those teams kind of battling it out for that first wild card round. And you put our 1, 2, 3 up against any of those teams, give me the Pirates every time. You line up the rotation, Skeens, Keller, Jones, the Pirates are going to be favored in all of those series. All of them. Like they were favored against the Dodgers when Paul Skeens was pitching. Like they're that good that when you put out those guys, they're going to be the favorites. You just got to get there. And so you've got to do everything in your power to get there. That is Ben Cherington's job right now is, hey, you know what? You got these 3 horses in your rotation. You have to get them to the postseason. You have to, no matter what. You've got to do it. You just got to find a way. And there are holes out there. Like there are clear holes out there for Ben Cherington to fix. Now he's just got to go out there and figure out a way to fix them. One of them's the bullpen, outfield, first base, catcher. You know, there's the holes are there. Plug them up.
I thought the Dardo had a thought there. I saw that face start and the gears start to turn.
Oh, I do. I was gonna let you go, but
I want to hear it.
I'll throw this out there. No, because I think like to emphasize your point, let's talk about the Atlanta Braves. Max Fried, Chris Sale, Charlie Morton, Ronaldo Lopez. Like you can add him in there too, right? There's 4. We'll see which 3 they go. That's a solid rotation. It's the Atlanta Braves. They're a solid team. But they're also out with Acuna now. Their offense is nothing like they were last year. Nothing. You have Skeens, Jones, Mitch Keller, Fried, Sale, Morton. Like I'm kind of with you. Fried's excellent. I've loved Max Fried. Chris Sale, I love Chris Sale too. The reason we talked about this in the offseason, like you get Chris Sale, speaking of the Braves, for the postseason. That's a tough 1, 2, 3. The Pirates, you can at least say, you can debate like what Jim said, they're going to be a favorite every single game. I don't know if I'm going that far, but you can absolutely debate that they match up with them. Toe to toe, they match up the Atlanta Braves. 1, 2, 3. Easily. That's where we're at. This might be more towards me on this show right now, but like you want to come at us like as far as pessimists, right? They match up with the Atlanta Braves, and you're hearing that come from my mouth. It's just all the other problems that it's just like it's why they're not going anywhere. They could have done more to make sure they get there because they could be favorites against the Braves. They could take the Braves in the playoffs. So do something. So like make it happen. Make it happen. Like you have national media talking about you because of this rotation. National media talking how you can be dangerous in the playoffs. So do what you need to do to get there. Yes, Jim, that's why it's the title, because that's what we really should be talking about right now. This team is as mediocre to below mediocre as you can get at this point in time with so many flaws. And yet they should be doing what they need to do to go somewhere because they could make noise in the playoffs where they're built.
Yeah, and I think if you think we're being a little bit too hyperbolic about this, just imagine being a fan of another team and looking at the potential playoff matchups. If I'm maybe a Braves fan, just since you just brought them up, if you're looking at other teams that you don't want to see in the playoffs, the team with Paul Skeens and Jared Jones, the way they're pitching, and then Mitch Keller on top of that, that's probably the team you're like, I'd prefer to dodge them. Just like when we were in the wild card race. I didn't want to see Madison Bumgarner. I didn't want to see Jake Arrieta. You know you're running into a buzzsaw. Right now, the Pirates have a potential buzzsaw. It's just that the outside noise is a little bit loud and ugly and bad.
And like I said, we've seen what happens when teams just get in, right? And you've got pitchers who just go on a roll. You've seen it. It happened with Arizona last year, right? Like Arizona, all of a sudden, Brandon Pfaadt like just becomes unreal. Wins how many elimination games? They end up getting to the World Series, and I think they won 83 games last year. So like you don't have to. This team doesn't have to go out there and win the division. I'm not even really saying that because honestly, that may be gone by now. The Brewers are just running away with it. But find a way to make this an 85 win team. If you're an 85 win team, you're in the playoffs. Like with the way this National League is right now, 85 wins, you are in. Like I'm 95% confident you win 85 games and you're in. Just get to that point. Figure out a way to get to that point and just let your pitching ride. Just ride your pitching throughout those playoffs because I can't stress this enough that we are so excited to have these three guys. But they're not going to all be together every year. Like it's just the odds are not in the favor of that happening. So you have to take advantage of this situation because you don't know how many times it's gonna come around.
It could never come around again.
It could never come around again. You're right.
It couldn't. And on the other side too, if it does come around, they're also there with playoff experience under the belts too. Like it's not going to be their very first time. Not that I feel like Paul Skeens needs that, but like you get what I'm saying. They've been there. They've been there before. They might struggle this year. They might not do anything, but they did what they needed to do to get to the playoffs. They knew how to win. They got into the playoffs. That experience can bode well. And now they have it under the belts today. So if you're lucky enough to have all three again next year and an even better team, you know what? You are better and you got a little bit of experience behind you. Like it doesn't hurt you to be good. I don't understand why there's this conception that like being better is a bad thing. Like it's okay to just chill and be comfortable with just this. You can be better. It's allowed. And you can be happy that a team wants to get better. I would feel that way. If Ben Cherington wants to get better and gets better, I would be a happier person because everything that you're looking at, right? Well, they're only this many games out of the wild card spot. Well, now they have better odds of getting in there. Like they're set up better. So, like, yes, like do what you need to do, which right now is a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it's not a whole lot to get better than what's out there because everyone else has all their struggles also. Like you don't need to do a ton, but just do it.
Yeah.
And-
Go ahead.
Well, just one more point on top of that. It's not even getting into the playoffs. It's trying to compete to get into the playoffs because not in the clubhouse, obviously, don't know, but I feel like personally, if I'm in that clubhouse and this front office throws a wet blanket on this season and I'm Brian Reynolds or a Brian Hayes and I've been grinding through this and we finally can kind of see the light at the end of that tunnel and they just close the door on that on me, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Losing just breeds more losing, really. And at some time you have to start showing urgency. And we have not seen Ben Sherrington show any sort of urgency in his entire tenure here. But now's the time. You can't wait anymore. You can't say, you know what, this team's going to be really good for a long time because of this pitching staff. You don't know that. Mets fans were saying the same thing back when they were running out Matt Harvey and Noah Syndergaard and Jacob deGrom, right? They were saying that. Marlins fans were like,
Zach
"Oh man,
Wheeler.
this rotation of Pablo Lopez, Sandy Alcantara, Yuri Perez, you know, this rotation is going to carry us, right?" It doesn't always work out that way. It actually rarely ever does work out that way. Look at the Cubs from the early 2000s, Mark Pryor, Kerry Wood, Carlos Zambrano. That rotation, the Cubs were going to break all the curses with that rotation. They didn't. It didn't last. You've got to take advantage of this rotation while it's together, while it's healthy, and you can't wait. You can't wait. People asked me last night, I said, you know, and this was for Luis Robert, right? Big Luis Robert fan. I would love to have Luis Robert on this team. He would solve a lot of problems, right? And it's like, well, would you trade Bubba Chandler, Tamar Johnson, and Anthony Solometo? Yeah, I would. Like, yeah, none of those guys are helping you make the playoffs this year, right? None of those guys are probably helping you make the playoffs next year either. So get the guy here who can help you right now because you don't know how long. You don't know how long this is going to last.
I mean, you spent 5 years developing depth in your minor league system for a reason. It's right now. And even next year, like, I don't even want to look at next year because you mentioned the Marlins there. How many conversations we have about acquiring Marlins pitchers? They're dead on pitching now. It happens in a snap of a finger.
Going into this
Sometimes
deadline,
literally.
I was like, everybody's available except Bubba Chandler. I've changed my mind. Everybody's available. They're all available for the right person.
Yeah. So I want to say that, and not that I thought you were going in that direction, but you know, when you say like, let's give up the farm, like you're willing to do that. Of course, it has to be for the right pieces. Like I don't want them to just be out there trading away whatever, and you know, there's another Chris Archer trade again. Ends up not being that bad as we initially thought. But regardless, like I don't want like this huge splash and it doesn't like work out for anything. Still needs to make sense. Now, what I'll say this, Jim. Also, big Robert fan. He on the Pirates would solve a lot of problems, like you're saying. Certainly the position. I mean, not only is it a true position of need, but you plug him right in the middle of that lineup. Now this lineup starts to get somewhat more competent again, right? I mean, you have Kutch, Reynolds, Joe, or Kutch, Reynolds, Roberts, right? Cruz, Joe, Nick Gonzalez. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can go here. And now that lengthens, it actually gets good. But I will say the injury history worries me. And it's not that the money is just astronomical, right? Like it's 12.5 this year, I think, 15 next year. The two options, like you have the control. That's also the good thing that when you say, like, would you trade those three guys for that type of a player? You're getting 3.5 years of control for him. Like it's not a today move. It's a today and the future. So, like we talked about, if you are still lucky enough to have these three pitchers together for the next 3 or 4 years, you also have Robert there with you. It's not as if it's a 1 year and gone. So, like that's why that type of move makes sense. But yeah, the health it does just worry me a bit. He has only played
Absolutely.
over 100 games once. Do I want to give up those 3? Have to pay, $15-20 million at some point and not have him for half of a year? That's tough. I love him, but I don't know if I'm ready to go with those 3 players for him either. I think there's a real debate on that.
I think there's absolutely a debate. And if there is one concern about Luis Robert, it's his ability to stay healthy.
But he's 26.
I guess Luis Robert kind of serves as more of a metaphor to me. Like, go out there and just find people who can help you right now. He's someone who seemingly is available. White Sox seem to be asking a lot for him. I don't know if they'll get that ask because of what you just said. Like, teams are going to be a little bit leery about trading a lot of their talent for someone who hasn't really proven that he can stay on the field. But man, when he's on the field, he's good. he's really good when he's out there, and he can be a difference maker for you. And again, would fit this currently constructed team perfect. But as there's some other comments on here, like there's a lot of other people that would fit, and like Taylor Ward, another guy. Like what would a Taylor Ward cost? Ryan McMahon, Brent Rooker. Like there's a bunch of guys out there who you could kick the tires on and bring in that would really impact this team.
The other point, though, to make the case for Robert, none of those guys mentioned are going to add excitement that Robert does, though. Like that is the case for him because you have Skeens, you have Jones, you have national eyes on you, like the excitement of the Hundo boys. Then you bring in Luis Robert, Pittsburgh, the town of exciting baseball. He will bring that. You saw, I used this trade. That's why I did bring it up. You saw what adding Chris Archer did, at least for the morale in the city of Pittsburgh. That's like what Luis Robert does, but he's probably much better.
Yeah. I mean, if Luis Robert is on the field, he's one of the most talented players in baseball.
Not playing well this year, though.
He has 15 games
like
and 6
20
homers.
Okay.
He has 6 home runs in
Still not
15
playing well.
games.
Like just came back from injury and has 4 home runs in like 6 games.
It's more to the point that I'm afraid this team will screw it up. So,
Okay, well that's fair.
do you really foresee the Pirates acquiring him and him bouncing back at that point?
He doesn't need. He just keep doing what he's doing. Like
Counterpoint.
Really, though, they do need someone that
Counterpoint.
all over the wall.
He's doing it in Chicago. If there's also a team that's going to screw something up, it's the White Sox.
Very
So he's
true.
doing this in Chicago. So he might actually improve with the Pirates.
But back, like Jim said, it's Luis Roberts kind of a dream scenario. It's more of a metaphor for just go get a bat, man. You got to get a bat here. Because there's guys that are hitting up in the order that really shouldn't be. And Jim brought up roles on this team a lot early in the year, especially when they were struggling. Guys will be able to slide into their actual roles a lot better with one actual legitimate bat here.
today's lineup was a real eye opener in that like this isn't it. You go out there, you put Mitch Keller on the mound, you put your best foot forward as far as like your rotation goes, and the players they put on the field with Mitch Keller today, like Ben Cherington should be embarrassed that lineup was written on a lineup card. Like that was what they put out there on the field to go out there and win a series against the St. Louis Cardinals. There were 2 guys in today's lineup with an OPS over 670. 2 out of 9. That's really, really bad. That's really bad. And that's just not like you can't do that and expect to go where we need this team to go. They got to get better. They got to get deeper. And these guys that aren't performing, it's time to move on from them. I'm talking to you, Jack Sawinski. Like you're done. You can't be on this team anymore. Sorry. Michael A. Taylor, you know what? I was a proponent of you. I really wanted you to come here and do something. I loved your glove, but you're not hitting. you can't be on this team anymore, or at least not in the role that you're in it right now. Like Michael A. Taylor probably serves a role on a good team as a defensive replacement and a bat against lefties. But right now, it's not working. What they're asking from Michael A. Taylor, he's not able to provide.
Henry Davis.
The whole catching position's a mess.
Oh,
First base, you know what? I'm actually kind of turning around. Rowdy's looked pretty good the last couple of weeks, but again, like you need to get somebody there who you can rely on, and right now you can't rely on Rowdy. But like when today's lineup came out today, I was like, you know what? I trust Rowdy third most out of these guys. And so again, but that's just a testament to how bad that lineup was. Rowdy Tellez was probably the third best hitter in today's lineup.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a clunker, huh?
Yeah.
I guess I don't get how you can look at that in year 5, like you mentioned, and say that's a good line, or that's even an adequate lineup we're going to put out today. And everybody's healthy. You're not missing anyone. This isn't like we're calling up guys from AAA to fill in spots here because Kutch got drilled in the back and Jason Nix has to play second base. And no, this is just your normal 26-man roster right here.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. And I guess, so you're saying like the idea of a Robert doesn't have to be him, right? But like if you brought in an impact bat like that, I truly do feel like you only need one. This isn't like you need to go out there and just like sell the farm to do it. Like you only need one, because you can get just an average first baseman for very cheap. I mean, a rental for like that's nothing. You find some middling catcher in single A to say, here, let's get this average first base rental, and an average first base rental is way better than what you have already, right? So like you can fill in the other pieces with just pieces and not have to give up much at all, because with this rotation, you don't have to score 10 runs a game to win, but you have to score runs to win, and that's just the problem, right? So like if you went out and you made like, listen, we see where our farm is, you see where this major league team is, let's go for it now. Because again, like Robert fills a need for the future. There's nothing coming up next year. It's not as if we don't want to make that move because we have these 3 guys waiting, and that's the move. Like if you want to argue the Yankees, like do they go out and make a move? Well, you know what? If Jason Dominguez is sitting here, like we don't want to go and do that. The Pirates don't have that problem. They don't have Jason Dominguez like just chilling here, and that's why we don't want to make this move. So if you make that move, it makes sense because you still need him for the next few years. So like you make that impact bat, you can just supplement around you. And this lineup is good enough with that starting pitching. And then the back end of that bullpen, which you still need some pieces there, which aren't going to cost them much. Like again, now you have enough to get to the playoffs. And now you are actually dangerous in the playoffs. And you didn't have to do a ton. And if it is Solometo, if it is Bubba Chandler and Tamar, again, we're not sure what Tamar is. Tamar is still a few years away. Bubba Chandler could be really good. Solometo could be decent. Now he's fallen off a bit. But the thing is, even if they are good, you have Paul Skeens, you have Jared Jones, and you have Mitch Keller here for the next 6 years. Like, do you need those guys here? No. There's an Ashcraft, there's a Harrington. Like, there's a bunch of other pieces in there. Or you just go out and spend $8 million and get another Martin Perez type. Like you have, as Tyler loves saying, the hard part figured out. You don't need Solometo or Bubba Chandler anymore. At this point in time, the way this rotation looks in the future, that's prospect capital.
We have just conditioned our brains as Pirates fans over a 30-year span or so that prospects are basically untouchable, right? Like this is your future. You know, all these prospects, this is your future. And like right now, the future is now. Like the now is what you need to worry about, because I don't know how long this now is going to last. And you've got to take advantage of the now. Like you have to. You can't just sit by and be complacent when you have Paul Skeens, Mitch Keller, and Jared Jones all in your rotation, healthy at the same time. It's inexcusable, actually. Like if I've gotten pretty upset at Ben Cherington over these 5 years, but if he does nothing with these 3 this year, like what are you doing? What are you doing here? Like you like again, like Tyler always likes to say, like you've got the hard part figured out. The hard part is putting together a rotation. And they did it. He somehow was able to do it, right? He lucked into the lottery. He got the pick right. They developed Jared Jones into this stud, and they developed Mitch Keller. Like Jared Jones and Mitch Keller are huge developmental wins for this organization. And Paul Skeens, they just lucked into him, right? They lucked into maybe the best pitcher many of us have ever seen, right?
But to their credit, they also made the correct choice in getting him.
They did.
Do we give him the credit there?
Tyler loves it when I say he's the best pitcher.
I was waiting on him to say he was the greatest pitcher ever.
But like, let's be real here, right? Like, have you ever seen anybody do what he does? No. The answer is no, right? So go out there and help these guys win baseball games. That is your job as the general manager. And if you don't do it this year, you're failing. You're failing at your job because they're all here. They're all here. They're all ready to win. So help them out. You've got to help them out.
And you've already shown a little bit here with Jared Jones that the extra year of control is maybe in the rearview mirror. Granted, there are ways they could still acquire that, but in that aspect, you've already kind of brought this year forward, where this year we're going to try a little more. Now, granted, offseason wise, they didn't, but we're not looking 7 years down the road now because you didn't wait those 2 weeks out. We got the here and now. And truthfully, with Jared Jones's build, I'm a little concerned long-term with him. So that's why I'm really listening to Jim and thinking, good Lord, this might actually be the year to go for it. Because even looking at how much Jared Jones has improved this year, who knows if he comes back next year and has the same stuff? You don't know that. This is the first year we're seeing it. You just never know.
And this doesn't say like he's going down this career path, but I'm only saying this because you hear the comps over and over and over and over and over again. He's Spencer Strider. Well, where's Spencer Strider today? You just don't know. You just don't know. And again, like to your point, in Atlanta, we have Spencer Strider, we have Max Fried. Let's go get Chris Sale. Like we're built, and then boom, Spencer Strider's gone. Yes, they have enough to recoup, but that's what we're talking about. Like they're doing it without Spencer Strider. You're going to have these 3 for the next 6 years you talk about, but Spencer Strider's just simply going to happen at some point in time. Paul Skeens is going to go down sometime. Jared Jones is going to go down sometime, right? Mitch Kellers may go down also. You know, like it's just you have to prepare and think they will. If they don't, then luck was on your side. But chances are they're going down. So knowing that they're here now, they're together now. Yes, absolutely.
And the mistake I'm afraid of there is that you mentioned one of them will go down or multiple will go down. My fear here with this front office is that their preparation in that case is going to be hoarding every single minor league arm that they have in preparation of that, rather than, again, pushing the chips in the middle of the table here. There's 2 avenues you can take there. I'm afraid they're going to continue the path, and we're going to hang on to every arm we have for that time.
Counterpoint. It's early to truly say this. We had this like debate, I feel like a little bit ago, but if you're going to go as far as prospect wise, they have done a phenomenal job building up a plethora of pitching. We also know how they like to think they're smarter than everybody. So maybe they feel like, you know what, we can make these people expendable because we're so damn good. We'll draft anybody and make them a pitcher. But to be honest, though, there are some very intriguing arms There's mostly a bit away, but they have done a phenomenal job of, you know what? There's a little bit of a pipeline of actual true pitching depth that maybe, I think Jim's the one who pointed this out like less than a month ago. Maybe that's what they're doing. Like, we can trade pitching because we can develop it. We can do it.
If we don't make the playoffs this year, I am going to be so angry. I'm serious, you guys. Like, Ben Sherrington needs to get this team to the playoffs. That's his job. And if he doesn't, I'm gonna rip him all off season. I'm gonna be so annoying. People are going to be very annoyed with me this off season if this team doesn't make the playoffs.
For the record, I just love when Jim pulls a Cody and we go into this deep analysis and he just comes in like, you got to make playoffs this year.
You got to.
Brian Reynolds will be 30 years old next year.
Yeah.
For the crowd, that's no, this ain't the year. Don't do it. Do it next year. Like the more next year's it is, the more of why the hell is Brian Reynolds on this team?
Yeah.
He could be 24, 25-year-olds that are currently producing for this team that you need right now and have 6 more years of also, instead of being 30-year-old Brian Reynolds who has a $100 million contract.
It's not even just Reynolds. Like, Bednar is going to be what, 29?
They've got a few people in that
Like,
first wave. I mean,
That
Hayes,
first wave's
Reynolds,
passing.
Bednar.
Hayes will be 28.
Keller
Bednar.
will be 29.
Keller, yeah. And 29 in starting pitcher years is not young.
Bednar's going to be 30 this October.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have some pretty important pieces here that you never know when Father Time's going to catch up. And that's sad to say about like 28 and 29-year-olds. But like in baseball years, relief pitchers don't really last that long. David Bednar doesn't have much longer. Mitch Keller, starting pitchers, they don't really, guys like him don't really throw into their 30s that long, especially without Tommy John. Knocking on the wood. But you never know. Like, there's a lot of question marks, even just going into next year, of who can remain healthy for another year. Damn it, Jim, you convinced me.
It shouldn't take much though. Like, the problem is they should have done this in the off season. That we're not having this discussion if they should this year.
Well, you know what
and
it
they
was?
came out and
Jared
told
Jones
you
set
that
it
they
up.
should.
They didn't think Jared Jones was this good. They didn't, because clearly if they thought he was this good, there wouldn't have been a pitching battle. Like, there wouldn't have been there was a legit pitching battle in spring training, and Jared Jones was not going into spring training in this rotation. He won it because he showed that he was really good. They did not see that coming. And so I wonder if that played a part in it. I don't think they thought they had these guys. I think they knew they had Keller, and they knew that Skeens was going to be up at some point. Jones, though, was a complete shock to them. I don't think they had any idea that he was going to be this good.
I actually think that Jared Jones was a little bit of a kick in the pants to the team to get Skeens up earlier than they probably would have. Because if
Well,
Jared
if you think
Jones
about
isn't who he is,
Yeah.
I think they wait till maybe now for Skeens.
Right. They would have just waited till Super 2.
Yeah.
Because, what would have been the point?
So maybe there is a little urgency there, Jim.
I'll say this, the way, and I put this on Twitter 2 days ago, and some people got mad at me, but I think the way they handled Skeens was perfect.
I would agree
I'm
with
good
that.
with it.
Perfect.
I think we've all pretty much talked about that. Like, we were all okay with him not starting out day one.
Yeah.
That
But
was
he's
it.
here now.
It made sense. And
He's
again,
here now.
props.
He's great. Yeah.
This isn't the way they normally operate. They did allow Jared Jones to come up on day one. I truly didn't think they were going to. No, we knew how good he was looking. I wanted them to, but it's but they're just not. And they did. So kudos to them on that. You talk about urgency. They did do the right thing there. But yeah, they got a good one in Jared Jones. And this isn't to blame them for not knowing what they had. Jared didn't know what he had either until he found that fastball.
Yeah.
So
No
this
one
isn't oh my God, they didn't know, they're an idiot for. I mean, no one knew. This fell in their lap also. Skeens falling into the lap and Jared Jones being the pitcher he is right now, falling into the lap is why we're here. And they have to recognize that. And I'm not saying they're not currently, but they better. And they need to do something.
Is it time to be the wet blanket yet?
Yeah.
We're only 45 minutes in. Skeens and Jones are both getting shut down. I don't see how this team's not doing that. They're shutting them down, man.
So, I mean, it's a conversation that's going to have to be had at some point, especially with Jones. I think Skeens has been handled really well. And Skeens strikes me as a guy they could probably get 150 or 160 innings out of him this year. Jared Jones, though, that's going to be tough. And they're in a weird spot with him too, because if they keep him up the entire year, then the draft pick is in play. If you do something where you monitor his innings, you lose that. I think at this point you got to, Brody here, skip him a few times. Like, you got to just be a little creative, maybe, especially around the All-Star break. Like, really utilize that All-Star break, in that, where normally you would skip 2 starts, you're only skipping 1, but you got some time in there. I'm not really ready to have that conversation yet, because I don't know what to do. Like, the Nationals, with what they did with Strasburg, right? That you had the Strasburg thing and they got ripped for it, right? And it cost them that season. Like, they didn't do anything that year, but then they, later on they ended up eventually winning, and it was with Strasburg as the MVP of the World Series. So I don't know. I think it's just going to depend on how they look. Like, I think you let the players tell you how to handle the situation. Like, if Jared Jones looks like he's falling apart or that he's laboring, like, remember last year in September, we all saw it with Oviedo. Like, we saw it. We talked about it on here.
Stop. Yes, we know what you're talking about. Don't speak on it anymore. Stop it, Jim.
So we talked about it, right? And we were like, Oviedo doesn't look right. He's pitching way more than normal. They should probably shut him down. They didn't. And then look what happened. If that happens with Jones or Skeens, then you got to get serious. But I think as long as their bodies are showing you and telling you that they're okay, I think you just be careful with them. But I don't know if you need to shut them down, as long as they still look good.
To add to that real quick, sorry, Donardo, I think you had a thought there, but
no, go.
Like, you mentioned the Nationals, but you also have the Mets with Harvey. Harvey was going to be shut down. They pitched him through it. He gets hurt too. I don't know if there's really a right or wrong answer here, and I think you brought up the best point with, you got to let them tell you by how they're pitching on whether it's time or not. I am concerned with Jones, just frame-wise, of how much he can endure. But if he's still throwing 100 in, like, on September 3rd, if he's throwing 100, you got to ride with it. Or if it's August, whatever it is, it's going to be an adventure, man. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here. We've seen it go both sides. You get shut down, you still have Tommy John. You don't get shut down, you have Tommy John. You're going to get hurt. There's no science behind it at this point. So do you go for it while they're here? I don't know.
Well, you go for it while they're here. Like, that's the correct answer to that is yes, right? They have intentionally done what they've done to Skeens with the mindset of, if we're going to be in the playoffs, we need him. So how do we get him there, right? And there was a talk of, like, Strasburg. Like, the point of Strasburg was they were stuck. Like, the Nationals were good, and Strasburg hit his limit. And it's like, well, what do we do? And they decided to shut him down. And of course, they didn't have him for the playoffs. So Cherington and the Pirates pretty much came out like, we don't want that scenario if we are to get there. Because again, the Pirates and Ben Cherington have told you they have intentions of competing this year. The goal is to be in the playoffs. So for those that are debating of whether this year should be the year or not, the Pirates have told you their mindset is yes. So they've done what they've done with Skeens, which is why we're agreeing that it's the correct move, because their mindset is if we're in the playoffs, Skeens is to be there. Again, the whole caveat to this is they didn't know Jones was going to be this. They didn't have that plan for Jones. So now they're stuck with, what do we do? Because we also need Jones to be there. We didn't build him up in that way. So, Tyler, to your point, I don't think any of them is getting shut down in August. I think it has to be, how do we ensure Jared Jones is ready to pitch, not just in September, but also in October? And that's, like Jim saying, the creative part. I also don't know how. I just know they need to figure that out, because the intention, the goal is to have Jared Jones pitching in October. Now, of course, if it is then at some point in time, the end of August, and this team's like 10 games out, then let's cut it. Right? Like at that point, the player's going to decide and the team's performance is going to decide. But the team is in it. And also, too, like if Jared Jones is pitching to Rookie of the Year performance results, like how do you send him down? You're going to be afforded potentially a draft pick. You're going to be afforded playoff opportunities. So let me ask you guys, like the All-Star break we talked is a great example, right? That's when you send them down. You're not going to send them down. Is there like a phantom IL stint? Is there a, you know what, we're going to send you to the bullpen a little bit and then stretch you out, like start like ramping you up again? I don't know how they're going to do it, but he's going to be well over his career season high in pitch innings. They have to do something.
Well, let's kind of break this down, right? He pitched 126 innings last year.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you probably are comfortable with 150 to 160.
I
This
don't know
year.
about comfortable.
I think you're comfortable adding 30 to 40 innings. At least I am. He's on pace, for
Like 180.
a hell of a lot more than that. Let's just say that. Yeah, he's made 13 starts and he's at 74 in a third innings. He's going to blow by that number in early August at this rate. It's tough.
32 starts is 184 innings.
Okay, so he's on a
At that
184
pace.
inning pace, and that doesn't include the playoffs if you want to make
Right.
make the playoffs, right? So you got to find you got to maybe try to find 30 innings to take away from him somehow. That's 5 to 6 starts. You got to just figure out how to get around him. That's like a whole month of pitching, and the problem we're going to run into is going back here. Like the Pirates need these guys to get to the playoffs too. Like they need them in the playoffs, but they also need them to get them there. Maybe you're looking at like a piggyback situation for a month, or I don't know. I don't want to do anything yet though. Like I wouldn't want to do anything until it's like last minute to decide, honestly, because I don't think you can make that decision in July and say, you know what, Jared Jones, in July, you're only going to pitch 10 innings. Because it could be that by the end of July, that decision just screwed you over and you're done, right? The 5 starts that Jared Jones should have gotten you in July, they go 1-4 in those starts instead of 4-1. And instead of being tied for the last wild card spot, you're now 4 games back, It's a tough decision. Like it's a really tough decision, but they've got to figure out a way to do this thing or they can get them through the season. And I don't know if it's 4 inning starts, if it's 6-man rotations, if it's skipping a start around the All-Star break, but they've got to use the All-Star break obviously to their advantage to do something.
It's going to be interesting because you almost have to just let it play out if you're doing it the right way, you've got to take it day by day, see what's going on. And if in July they're, 7, 8 games out, or not July, but in August you're 7, 8 games out, then you probably slow them down a little bit. But also you don't want to wait it out too long where that you're not doing the 6-man rotation that you originally planned on a couple weeks ago, or not doing any of the other options you have. You have to be proactive, but also reactive here. It's very weird.
Yeah. Because again, I think you let them dictate it. You let Jared Jones dictate how long you can ride him.
This team just all around us is in a weird situation, like standing wise, player wise, everything. But also, I just want to add this in here real quick too. This is why you can't buy tickets 10 days out in advance, guys. Like for all the people that are pissed off that on July or June 22nd, Kutch Bubblehead night, that Skeens isn't lined up the pitch anymore. This is what, like, they have to find. We are now telling you, you're now gaining the information and understanding. They have to be creative to have these pitchers last through the year. So if you're trying to plan to watch Paul Skeens or Jared Jones pitch, don't buy a ticket till they're announced, because you're going to find yourself disappointed sometimes. So just do that. But anyways, I don't know, man. Like they're in a predicament, and it's a good one. Like it's a positive predicament. The predicament is there's good things here that we weren't expecting, and that's why we need to go for it. But now they need to figure out how to go for it. And they need to figure out how to manage the team to get there and then be ready to go when they're going for it in the playoffs.
I got to be the
got to figure it out.
I got to be the wet blanket. I don't see it. I think it's going to get shut down, and we're going to end up in August complaining for 2 months.
You also said Paul Skeens would be up.
I did.
Not even now.
Correct, but I also thought that he'd pitch the rest of the year. Now I don't.
I also don't think you expected him to be this good either.
Me?
Yeah, like this good.
Well, this good's pretty.
I mean, he was.
It'd be silly to think he's this good.
You can't.
He was like the best AAA pitcher I've ever seen.
Like, we talked about him matching up with Jared Jones. Yeah, and saying it's unfair for him to get to that level. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, easy.
Quickly. And he just looks bored.
Quickly. He came onto the scene and was like,
yeah.
I know you guys like Jared Jones, but I'm Paul Skeens.
Yeah. I throw baseballs hard. Sometimes
it was actually unfair to compare him to Jared Jones in the other way, in that, like,
right?
It's just true.
Insanely, just he's somehow insanely better than him.
Like the Jordan meme. He's like, and I took offense to that. It's going to be unfair to compare him to Jared Jones. He's like, you're right. It's going to be very unfair.
Let's throw every baseball
for Jared Jones.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun, though. Like, watching those two has been fun. 2 out of 5 starts have been fun. The third one's been
Mitch Keller.
I mean, Keller won 6 in a row coming into today.
I wouldn't say that's, like, fun, because I'm just used to it from Mitch at this point. Those two, it's fun.
Jim, winning 6 in a row is not fun. We're Pirates fans. We don't do
that. We're used to that. We're used to that around here.
Yeah.
No, but like Mitch
we
Keller,
don't settle for 6 wins in a row.
Yeah. It's not electrifying like those two.
No, I would say like it's a different kind of fun.
Yeah. Mitch Keller's just just like Derek Shelton right in his lineup with Rowdy Tellez 5th every day. Close your eyes and do it.
Yeah,
that's Mitch Keller starts.
Yeah, this team can be as exciting as frustrating all at the same time.
Dude, they can't.
It's literally the 2024 Pirates, and that's why you can have every single perspective you want on this team right now.
Yeah, they can't hit.
Do we want to talk about that?
I don't know. We're an hour in. We spent an hour on my topic.
That's why it's a title.
The one that Donardo criticized.
I mean, I think we can talk about the hitting quickly. I don't know if we want to stay here too much longer, but
Just quickly.
the one guy I'm done with is Jack Sawinski. I'm done with him. Like at this point, give me Joshua Palacios. Like tomorrow. Tomorrow. Give me Joshua Palacios tomorrow.
No. If we are going to do something, it'll at least
Like-
give me Gorski. It's Gorski.
Give me
Palacios?
Give me Joshua Palacios tomorrow in Colorado.
No.
Yeah.
How are you No.
You what?
Palacios.
No,
He's
we're
not
skip.
good.
No,
He's
let's
not
skip
good.
over the Palacio stuff. You want Matt Gorski on this team right now?
If you are pining for Joshua Palacios, I do want Gorski over Palacios. Yes. Why am I dumb?
Palacios is
Joshua Palacios isn't a good baseball player.
better. I didn't say that.
And there we go. We're done. That's all we needed. I want good baseball players, not Josh Palacios. You just say he's bad.
I did.
I mean,
What are you doing here?
what I'm saying is there's no other options right now. Like if you're looking at internal options, you can play in Colorado tomorrow. I don't want Jack Sawinski in Colorado tomorrow. Give me Joshua Palacios.
To be fair, isn't Colorado we went off last year?
Who? Sawinski?
Sawinski.
Well, I think he was facing position players a few times, but yes, to answer your question,
The Rockies
yes.
pitchers are position players. So actually, to be fair, they aren't too bad, relatively.
I think he might have homered off of Elias Diaz or something.
I'd actually probably write out.
Yes, he had 3 home runs. I haven't fact checked that, but I'm just going to say it because it's in the comments.
Here's a stat for you. If you took last year's Joshua Palacios and plugged him in today's lineup, he would have been the third best hitter in the lineup.
Yeah, but if
And
he
that's
didn't
just a
have,
diamond of how bad. And I believe he's better.
So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We just got to get better. And like Sawinski, you can't have Jack Sawinski on this team anymore.
We agree there. All I'm saying is I will take Gorski over Palacios. There's literally 0 options. 0.
I guess my
internal
difference
options
there is that
are good.
Gorski's. You give me the lefty. Give me the lefty bat.
Okay. I mean that's an argument had. And again, we're really debating on just
We have a Matt Gorski
probably
at home,
bad
and
baseball
his
players.
name is Michael A. Taylor.
yeah. So I guess that would be my question there. If we're just chopping Sawinski here, I don't need to see Michael A. Taylor more. Like, there's a lot of really bad. I don't really want to see Rowdy Tellez more because Connor Joe's playing in the outfield. They got to go get a bat. Plain and simple. Like, you need something outside. Palacio stinks. I don't care about Gorski. At that point, I would ride it out with Sawinski because if you can just hang on a little bit longer and pray he can run into one hot streak, you never know here. I mean, the guy did hit 20 plus home runs last year. Maybe there's something still, even if like 20 were against position. How are we to this point where I'm defending Jack Sawinski and Jim is criticizing Prime Juan Soto?
That's true. I'm now calling for Palacios over Sawinski. Now, for the long-term answer, it's an external option. Like, go out there and get, like in the comments here, Grichuk, Tommy Pham, Turner Ward. These are the names being named. Like, go out there and find somebody. But for Colorado tomorrow, I don't want Sawinski there. Give me Joshua Palacios tomorrow.
Do you guys remember when Jim said that Jack Sawinski was better than Ryan Reynolds?
I forgot about that.
Here's the deal.
Pepperidge Farm didn't forget about that.
Here's the deal. When you got to come on here and talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates for 30
no,
minutes to an
there's
hour
no
every
excuses.
single day,
You're an idiot.
you're gonna say some dumb stuff. All right. That was maybe a dumb thing that I said.
Maybe. That was maybe negative 0.9 WAR. That was maybe a dumb thing.
Maybe a dumb thing. Yeah.
That's the best you'll ever get Jim admitting he was wrong. That might have been a dumb thing.
I've never said that I'm never wrong. It happens. It happens.
You're right. You
from
have
time to
never
time.
said that.
No, he did. He did.
No, I say it happens.
He said
from
about
time to
Michael A.
time.
Taylor.
Yeah. I said I was wrong. Yeah. Earlier tonight, I said
Okay.
I was wrong about
Yeah, he
Michael
said he
A.
was
Taylor.
wrong about Michael A. Taylor, but do you know who was on that show with him? Who kept just saying Michael A. Taylor wasn't very good and I don't want him on my team? It's a guy on the right of your screen there.
You got
weird.
dragged for that.
People
dude.
hated me for that.
You got dragged.
I'm just glad I wasn't on that show.
The comments on that show,
Brutal.
they hated you.
Brutal. Look, I don't want to take pride in knowing ball when it comes to Pirates players being bad, but like I know ball.
Here's the thing: when you say a Pirates player is bad, your odds of being right are really high. Like,
You figured out my
you've got-
system. Thank you.
You've got a really good chance of being correct, just in general.
You've now figured out my system.
There it is. But yes, Jack Sawinski, like this bottom three is just horrible. Horrible. And when your guys need days off, it just gets that much worse. Though I'm not sure why any of them couldn't pitch hit at the end of the game, but
he's gonna homer 3 times this weekend.
I hope so.
Oh, I mean, me too. But
Yeah, that would be great.
Kind of.
I don't think Nardo actually does.
I mean, I do.
And then Jim will be back on here comparing him to Prime Jet, Juan Soto. So
if Jack Sawinski could end the year at 0 WAR, I will be happy to take that.
You know who was positive WAR last year? Joshua Palacios.
Okay. And his like 80 weighted runs created plus.
83, which is like twice Sawinski's. He's like twice the hitter Sawinski is.
He's a 28-year-old in AAA right now with like a 60 weighted runs created plus.
Oh, he's been hurt and he's only played 10 games. Come on.
I don't care.
Just one more quick thing.
AAA's terrible. All right, is that it?
Real quick though, the bat's been terrible. The fielding in center field is atrocious. You got to find a good defender out there too. That's all.
Wait, huh?
Sawinski's been terrible in center.
Oh.
He's been terrible everywhere.
Yeah,
I mean, did you see him today? Like that ball in the corner today was pathetic.
Had to work, unlike DiNardo.
Yeah. Well, he made an error today in left field.
Yeah, he's been terrible in the field.
This was the day after Brian Reynolds let a ball go to the fence in left field.
Also been terrible. But then make these great flashy plays and like his arms back. And somehow with his arm back and leading an assist, like he's still one of the worst outfielders in baseball. It's just, man, his defense is falling from grace.
Fix
Let's
first
get
base
out of here.
next year, baby. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
We'll be back tomorrow then. Another post game show. I don't know who's on it. I won't.
Me.
I'll be
Me and Jim, I think.
I think that's right. Yeah.
I'll be watching I'll
A
be watching
team's back,
Joshua
baby.
Palacios tomorrow. I'll be watching Joshua Palacios tomorrow. I'll be at the Jumbo Shrimp Indians game. So how about that?
You should have been there tonight. Braxton Ashcraft shoved in his AAA debut.
Honestly,
tonight.
I should have. With this terrible performance in front of me,
yeah,
I should have.
You should have. You should have skipped out on this.
Yeah, the A team could have performed.
Yeah.
Whatever. All right.
All right.
So like I said, and then in a week and a day, basically, well, a week and 2 days, I guess. June 22nd. Sign up if you haven't. RSVP. We're gonna have our tailgate. Kutch bobblehead day, not Paul Skeen's pitching day, but we'll be there. It'll be a fun time. And of course, the post-game show at Permane Brothers at Market Square. We'll be doing it live there.
Over under 2.5. You're shorter in person than I thought. You are really short. I'm gonna get more than that, right?
Oh, way over.
Can't help it. I carry myself big.
We've estimated what to be about 175 there.
Oh man!
So out of 175 people, the 3 people only saying, "Wow, you're shorter than I thought." Taking the, I'm hammering the bet online where Tyler's short game starts here.
I'm gonna go ahead and hammer that over as well right now. Go put those
That's
odds out.
the line. It's definitely the over.
I said
I'm excited for that. I'm
Over
excited for the
early.
tailgate to see everybody. I'm excited for the game, hanging out at the game, and the post game show live from Permane Brothers. That's going to be pretty fun. It should be a really enjoyable day.
And I'm gonna stay seated, so nobody can judge my height.
Let's get out of here. Everyone, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Peace out, Scots.
See you guys.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.